Hi guys, Frugal Gal here. Kind of a different video. I want to share with you some weird things that happened when I had my open heart surgery. Now, I moved back home on my parents' property in 2016, and since 2016, I've had several surgeries. So I've had carpal tunnel surgery on both my wrists. I've had my gallbladder out. I've had a torn rotator cuff repair that also had a Mumford procedure with it, which is they shaved down my clavicle bone, they took out a bone spur, they took out my bursa sac, they cut my deltoid muscle and pulled it back up after they cut my bicep muscles and pulled it back up, put an anchor in there. I've also had my thyroid removed. So this is not my first rodeo, so to speak, on surgeries. Every other surgery that I've ever had, whether they tell you you're going to be in twilight sleep, which is not fully out, you might remember things, but every time they tell me it's twilight sleep, I'm knocked out. I've always remembered meeting with the anesthesiologist, being wheeled to the operating room, being transferred over to the operating table, the anesthesiologist talking to me in there, and with the more major surgery, like the shoulder surgery, putting the oxygen mask on me and, hearing them say they're administering the anesthesia and then slowly falling asleep. This surgery, with my open heart surgery, did not happen that way. My surgery was scheduled for 7 o'clock a.m. Had to get to the hospital at 5 o'clock. I went with my mother, my sister, and my nephew. And we were put in a room, and of course IVs were started on me. I talked to a lot of nurses. I think I talked to an anesthesiologist. I talked to the surgical assistant too. But I was just talking to my family, and the next thing I know, I have a memory of lying in the bed and grabbing hold of my nephew's hand and squeezing it and holding onto his hand. And then the next thing I remember, I woke up partway. I looked at the clock and it said 2 o'clock, like 10 after 2, and I thought that meant it was 10 after 2 in the afternoon, which I knew by then my surgery would be over because that surgery was supposed to take 4 or 5 hours. And I said, "Where's my family?" And the nurse said, "Oh, honey, it's 2 o'clock in the morning." And I thought, well, what happened, So, after coming home and speaking, and after the surgery and being in recovery and things, I talked to my mom, like, what happened? Because this is the first time I've never remembered anything. She said, well, they brought you back from surgery, and you had all these bags, like 9 bags of things on you. They put, like, a lot of, you can tell from here, I have this spot here, and there's still a knot in my neck. They put, like, 4 IVs in your jugular. I actually have the notes where it said they put it in my jugular vein. And, they had all these bags of stuff on you, Melissa, and you were still on the respirator, the breathing tube down your throat. I said, I was? They said, yeah, you were awake. And they had someone in there that they were training that was in a military uniform. I guess a nurse or maybe a doctor. She was training, and they were trying to get the respirator off me. So when they, I know this from my dad being in the hospital. When they take a respirator off you, what they usually do is they have it at a certain percentage. Say 80% of it. Say it's at 80%, and that means 80% of your breathing is being done by the respirator, the breathing tube. They turn it down so they can see if you can do with less, so that then eventually they can pull it out. Well, they're teaching this woman how to do this, and she's looking at the monitor, and Mom said, you're over there going, and digging your feet in the bed, and they're trying to say, see, and she's going, oh, it says this on the monitor, and my mom had to say to him, she can't breathe, and so, yeah, nice. So eventually I guess they got that off of me, and Mom said I was fully awake, and I went like this. I don't know if I still had I went like this. And my nephew said she wants a piece of paper to write. And my mom dug in her purse and got out a piece of paper. Now, she didn't say this because I would have loved to see this piece of paper. And the first thing I wrote is, "Where is Brooke?" Question mark. Brooke is my niece, and she was supposed to join us at the hospital, but she had to work that day. And now she thinks she's my favorite because I asked for her first. She's like, "I'm your favorite. I knew I was." Blah blah blah. I'm like, shut up. I don't even remember this. Okay, so and they tell me, she'll be coming later. She's at work, and then I put, "How's Lana?" And because Lana, before this, had been having trouble at daycare, she was, like, playing by herself, and she wasn't socializing much. So I guess I was concerned about her, and they told me she was doing fine. She was fine. And then they said I was using sign language. I don't know sign language. I know a little bit of sign language because when I was a teacher for the first year, 21 years ago, my first year teaching, I had a student who was deaf, and I had to wear a microphone, but I also learned a bit of sign language to be able to communicate with her. I taught 4th grade. And so I was telling them, "I'm sorry," and "I love you," and doing different signs, and the nurse was like, "She knows sign language?" And Mom's like, "No, she doesn't know sign language." And my nephew emerged, goes, "Yes, she does. She knows a little bit of it. She had her first year teaching, she had a deaf student." I'm like, well, thank God my nephew listened to me when I talk. And I was telling them I was sorry. I don't know why. And they were like looking up all these signs I was doing. The nurse, "Well, I'm going to go see what she said this time. And I'm going to go see what she..." I don't remember any of this. And I was telling them I loved them. And I was holding my nephew's hand. And I have no recollection of any of this. My last recollection of just is being in that room, preparing, knowing that I think it was like maybe a little after 6 and they were going to come get me from surgery. And that's strange to me that I don't remember any of that. Now, after I got out, after I finally woke up in intensive care, ICU, after surgery, later on, when I did come to and actually start remembering things, they were giving me, I think I've told you guys, they were giving me medication that I was allergic to, that they had in my file that I was allergic to, which is, I'm not happy about that. They were giving me 3 different kinds of medication I was allergic to. So at one point I was hallucinating. At a lot of points I was hallucinating. They had a cabinet across the way in the next room they moved me to, and it had, like wheels on it that move around. Well, those wheels turned into RoboCops. They came out, and they were dancing to Disco Disco Duck. If anybody is from the 1980s, you remember Disco Disco Duck? Okay? And I'm thinking they were going, okay, I know I'm hallucinating, and I ain't about to tell any of these people I'm seeing this, because I ain't getting sent to the psych ward. And then I saw, on the way home, I was seeing trees falling. I was unsure if I'd even had the open heart surgery. And at one point, I was lucid enough to say, "What are you giving me?" And they're like, "Norco." And I'm like, "Well, what's the other name for it?" They're like, "Hydrocodone." I'm like, "I'm allergic to this. I can't take this." "Oh, come on, take it. You just take half of it." I'm like, "Okay, y'all go kill me. By the grace of God, I'm alive." But I thought I'd share that with you, just some funny things, and not so funny. They're going to be told when I go see my surgeon in a couple of weeks. I go see him, I don't know, April something. April 16th, I don't know, something like that. Why were you giving me medication I was allergic to? I even called them after I said, "Why were you guys doing that?" They were like, "Well, it says you're allergic to it, but it doesn't say it's major allergy." I'm thinking, we wanted to put down major allergy. It's an allergy. I was out of my mind, people. But anyway, so apparently sign language and asking about my family, well, at least I'm kind when I don't remember it. I asked about my great niece, and was telling her about I loved them. So, but thank God my mom noticed that I wasn't breathing. So, I don't know. I'm glad I don't remember the whole part of them pulling out the tube, because that would have been scary to remember. But I thought you guys might get a kick out of that. I'm doing much better. My thing is healing very well. I feel a lot better. I'm still losing weight. I'm actually at the weight I was when I moved down here 7 years ago, which is a weight I have not been at in a long time. And I think that's got a lot to do with I'm on insulin now, and my insulin's being regulated. So, actually, I'm only 20 pounds away from what my goal weight would be. And, I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. So, I do get tired easily and exhausted. So, I won't be seeing Dean tomorrow because they won't let me. They said I need a rest. So, pooey. So, but I'll see him soon. I'll see him next week. So, I'll talk to you guys later. I thought you might get a kick out of that. So, at least I know when I'm out of my mind, I'm nice. I wasn't one of hallucination. I was pretty mean. But, after the surgery, I was nice. And apparently, if you know sign language from 21 years ago, it comes back to you after anesthesia. Who knew? Talk to you guys later. Thumbs up.